over the last couple chapters, I thought I had an idea of what was going to happen, like where things were going, what was going to go down. Oh, man, I just realized I don't have the music turn up. Let me turn on the music. But I thought I had a general idea of how things were going right now with the fight with Dagon. You have Nanami, Maki, now Beto, and now Megumi coming into play against this guy. And there was a lot of stuff I was thinking about, like when the chapter started, because I think the only series that I looked at spoilers this week was I looked at Black Clover, and then I read the Black Clover fan translations before I ended up reading the actual chapter, and everything else I was just going into completely blind. So, like, the chapter started out, I remember what happened, Megumi showed up, he's using his expansion against Dagon's expansion, and I like that we're getting a domain expansion clash, and I'm just going to go with the official translations. I know I've talked about before how I was just going to go with territorial expansions, but it was more of like, I didn't like how they're inconsistent on some of the translations, but if they're gonna keep it consistent and not change it again, like it was air expansion and then for some reason it became domain expansion. Unless the author straight says like what it's supposed to be, I will just go with domain expansion. If they change it again, I'm gonna be annoyed. But whatever. But anyway, we had domain expansions exist in the series for a long time. We're 109 chapters in, and with everything going on, we understood way back when two expansions clashed, the stronger one is obviously going to come out on top. And I like that they're able to incorporate these two powers and how they can end up kind of like affecting each other in just like the general idea of how they work. And we saw it with Jogo and Satoru, but Satoru's obviously way more powerful, so it just completely wiped Jogo's right out. We didn't really get to see like a struggle of him trying to fight back. It just was this 0 to 100 done. But now we're seeing Megumi's go up against Dagon's, and while Dagon's trying to use his power of his expansion, here comes in Maki's using her Playful Cloud. We know it's a special grade level tool, so it can hurt a special grade level Cursed Spirit. And from that, you see her using it, kind of like swiping off a piece of his body. He's gonna have to heal and recover from it, but she can do damage. Like, she's an interesting character because she's capable of fighting, but it's really up to like her, what tool she has and her experience and just like utilization of that tool, because she doesn't have cursed energy. She has to have her glasses in order to even see him. So I think she's pretty balanced in that regard. So it's nice to see her kind of like laying into him and being able to kind of do her part. I thought the fight was going to be way more focused on her and Megumi kind of just overcoming Dagon and her kind of just like showing her capabilities in front of Naobito. But that wasn't exactly the case. But he tries to go use his Death Swarm. He can't use the full ability because of the pressure that Megumi's expansion is putting on his. He's not able to fully utilize, what it can do. So he can still use his Death Swarm, but they got to come out of his body. He can't just spawn them like instantaneously onto people. He just pulls them out, sends it at Megumi, who comes Nanami. Nanami's just using his weapon. Does his weapon have a name? I actually don't know what it's called. It just looks like a big wooden paddle with like the weird wrapping on it. But he goes in, starts like attacking it. Here comes in Naobito as well to go lay in attacks, and they're just kind of doing their thing, helping Megumi, giving him cover and support so he can use his expansion against Dagon's, and both whatever his plan was, obviously, but they're still weak. He's still kind of like weakening what Dagon is capable of, while they're all trying to attack and hopefully beat him or Megumi get his job done. But while they're doing that, I still really like Naobito's powers. I think his cool like setup, weird Phantom Zone like ability is just really neat to look at. But they're kind of just giving Megumi cover, like I said, and he's explaining to them that he's not just like he's not like, oh, I'm going to overcome his expansion, so he's trapped in mine. He knows that he's not more powerful than Dagon, so essentially he's trying to expand his expansion outward until it breaks a hole into from Dagon's back into the normal world, because they're in this pocket dimension, this like personal area of space, And he's like, I don't think he's capable of just, using it again, unlike Satoru, because we know Satoru's like crazy powerful. He can use it multiple times a day. But he's like, I think he'll only be able to use it once. If we get out of here, then he's not going to, then we could probably get back to a much more fair fight, much more kind of like capable way of us beating him. And while they're kind of just like all like grouping back up, like, assemble, we got to get together. Like here's Megumi, who's now punctured a hole right through the expansion that Dagon has created, and Dagon even realizes it. He doesn't think, oh, they're all kind of grouping up, or they're gonna do like a combo attack or something. He realizes they're getting out, and he's got to rush in to go do something. And so I mentioned it at the start of the chapter. When I got into this chapter where I was completely blind, I figured it was gonna be a team effort, kind of tactics and whatnot, get everything all sorted out so that these characters can work together in order to beat him. And especially because we know that they don't really especially Maki doesn't get along with Naobito. It would have been cool to see her and him have to put those differences aside in order to take this guy down. But once that hole got open, and I was like, oh, cool. I think it just looks really neat of you got this like little space area that they're trying to kind of jump through in order to get back outside of this technique. And you just had this still moment and these words, man, talking about the curse of the Zen'in family and the man who left it all behind. And here comes Toji. I am so hyped for Toji. I'm super hyped just to see Toji work. I can't wait to watch him kind of just move in this. And he's going to take the playful cloud from Maki. And him with that weapon, I think he's going to maul Dagon. I think he's going to completely just run a pain train right over the top of him. And I figured he was going to be brought up later. I thought there was a couple possibilities where he could work with. I thought it would either be with Naobito or Megumi. I didn't at all think it was going to go like this. I didn't think he was going to bust in here and get ready to attack this dude and to help take him down. And Dagon's strong, but he's definitely inexperienced. And when you have a guy who is all experience and on top of his crazy level of physical strength, his intelligence when it comes to fighting, and just how much of a brutal onslaught style fighter he is, I can't wait. And when you have Satoru is really powerful, and he's got all these crazy abilities on top of having all this cursed energy and stuff. He's when you see him body somebody and him just run over a character, you're of course he was gonna win. Look what the gap in power and what his power, what his abilities were versus what Satoru's have and all these things. You're yeah, he's gonna beat him, and he's gonna do it in a pretty I want to say more kind of way, and it's a display. It's more of a show. It's done in a almost cinematic style. Whereas Toji is just gonna brutally just rip this dude apart. He's gonna get that playful cloud, and it's just gonna be up in there. He's gonna get right up close to Dagon. Dagon's gonna be trying to do techniques, and you're just gonna see some Bruce Lee combat stab and just swirling it around, and it's just every single motion is a setup for an attack, and he's just gonna see Dagon just getting pieces of his body just blown apart without him even realizing what's happening. I can't wait for that. And then where it goes from here as well is going to be really interesting, because he's not evil. We know he's not evil. We already even know even the stuff that went on with it's what we said about his son was because he was trying to, in his heart, kind of get away from it, because he knew that they were going to take his son away from him, and he wanted to get away from that kind of idea, the loss and the pain that he had. He knew he was going to suffer. But man, I can't wait just to see how he interacts with Naobito and shit, especially because I personally think that he's stronger than Naobito. I think that he's much more powerful. And the only thing that really is different is same thing with Maki, is he just needs to have a good weapon. And if you took where he was at when he fought Satoru and put him against Naobito, I would just definitely be yeah, he's probably gonna beat him there too. And when you have a character who it's had that weird cursed spirit that had an arsenal, a weapon arsenal kind of inside of it. It's okay, well then, how is he going to, what weapons is he going to have to fight this guy? We got the Playful Cloud set up, special grade curse tool, so he's all prepped and ready to go. So in the next chapter, I'm super hyped to see where that goes, and I'm really hyped just to see how he just lays it on this guy. And I would actually really like it if the thing that really turns the tides is Toji, and I can't wait. Anyway, other than that, though, comment below. Tell me your thoughts about this chapter, and tell me your thoughts about what's going on right now in Jujutsu Kaisen. And I really appreciate you thumbs up the video, but from the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.